Hey guys, Matt here with Merly Gaming. You're watching another bit of a tutorial, but I want to talk about the last one a little bit. My last video was this 3x3 fully automated industrial bunker, and it got quite a bit of views and a few comments. So I just want to address the comment that, just take out one foundation and you're in. This is actually exactly the point of any bunker, is you have to go through a wall or a foundation or something other than a door, and that's a lot more expensive than a door. That's the whole point of the bunker. So you are correct, but just wanted to make that clear that this is kind of the point of the bunkers. I know a lot of you might already know that, but if you're kind of new to Rust, you might not realize that that's the point of these bunkers, is they're very hard to break into. So sure, you take out one foundation, one armored foundation, it's like 15 rockets. But an armored door is how many rockets? They just changed it, actually. I think it's 5. So it's a lot more expensive. It's a very expensive final endeavor. But you can, in this build I showed, um, you can layer this area with. Okay, so I'm just going to recreate it super quick, if you will. So that 3x3 bunker looks like we want to just lower one of these. It looks like this. And I also said you could do half or full walls here. I think it is best actually to do half walls because, well, it depends. I'll explain. It's all about soft siding though. If you have a full wall here and then you do your floor here, if they get into your crafting floor, which is theoretically the one above, they can soft side your bunker, and you don't want that. So that's why I think it's better to do half walls. It's just because potential soft siding. So you'll have to make that judgment a little bit on your own. But let's recreate the bunker. I'm just doing it in metal here, super quick, just so I can show you how to make this even more annoying for raiders to deal with. Because yes, they can break in if they really want to. They can spend the resources to break through a foundation or a wall, and it's going to be pretty expensive, as intended. That should be thatch or whatever. I got the auto grade on there. Alrighty. So, yep, place this. I'll go out here and do it. Do not have the clipping on right now. Or no clip, rather. Place that. And boom, you put your floor over. Oh, that's a bit backwards, ain't it? Alright. Actually, I'll just turn this on again. There we go. Okay. So, same scenario here. So yes, now the idea is, just in case it's not clear, is you pad this out. This is just your very bottom layer. You would have stuff all around this, including potentially a compound. You should absolutely honeycomb this as soon as possible. You should high qual everything I've built here as soon as possible. Basically everything here. You can sometimes leave out high qualing these ones down here, because they're not really going to add to the raid cost. They got to destroy these outer foundations or an outer wall. So you can refrain from that if you want, but you want to absolutely do all these to armor. And all these to armor. And all these to armor. But you can kind of skip the floor and all these to armor. Yeah, I'm not going to do them all because that'll distract. Maybe I'll just pause and do it. Okay, and we have high quality everything that we're supposed to, I think. Just double check. Oh, this one should also be armored. And these should be armored too. And to match, you could do armored triangles on these if you want. Alright, now most important things here, yeah, that's got to be on the opposite side. The opening there, oops. That opening has to be on the opposite side because you don't want them to be able to shoot through it and destroy your little stability wall. Right? Okay, but yeah, they could break through a random area. But if you want to make it really annoying, you could honeycomb this with garage doors or whatever kind of doors you want. And then they have to happen to break into the right side. Another thing, I didn't really mention this, but you can do some double layering of the walls or yeah, floors, like so, just to get more storage in. If you want to have that. But it's kind of hard to do it very far because it does lose stability as it's not getting any support. And you cannot do it right here because then it will start to hold up the other end of this bunker, right? For example, you destroy that, that's how you get out normally, which shouldn't have to do. Anyway, because it's going to be industrial, right? But let's just say, let me go on a no clip here. Let's just say that you're reset it up. Pretend that's thatch. It's fine. Then you're resealing it. If you add this, what happens, right? Stays up. You have to destroy this one too, because it's holding it now. Yep, standard stability bunker stuff. But look, but you can get these all around the rest of the way for more storage down here. You could probably just leave these. I would probably leave them stone personally. Maybe metal if I don't want to keep stone in my upkeep. But that's up to you. But you would get quite a bit in here. You do need to have one spot open though for the TC somewhere, unless you're placing it right here, which is possible and fine, I would think actually. But the other point here is, I guess it doesn't matter if these are in or not. Lots of doors. Put frames in, put doors in, then whatever side they happen to break into. And the reality is what's most likely going to happen if you build this sort of thing with a proper tower and everything on top of it and honeycomb is they're going to get to this floor right here eventually. They're going to have this hatch with the refinery, right? They'll destroy the hatch because they think, where's the freaking TC? And they'll find this. And then they realize, oh, this is a bunker. Right? And you should, maybe the ones they can see you should have high qual, just to sell the point of everything's high qual, because they wouldn't know the difference about the other ones, if you know what I mean. But they're going to break through one of these walls, probably. One of these internal walls right here. So whichever one they pick, you make that one have a lot of doors. So you just make this whole thing have a lot of doors. You know, oh, I don't think you can place it down here. Let's see. Let me see if I can. I don't know if you can place it with these walls. I actually got a little to try. No, you can. You just got to do it from below. But if you have all these doors on whatever side they break through, they once again need to use more explosives. So you can make it so it's not just break a foundation and get in. Is the point. I know it's been a long-winded point, but I just wanted to be clear about some things and not leave people confused and asking a gazillion questions. But by all means, if you have questions, please do ask them. Well, that's certainly a good door. But yeah, you close all those, and then wherever they break in, they gotta go through a bunch of doors most likely to get to all your stuff. And those garage doors are 3 rockets each, so yeah, it's gonna be annoying for them. But you know, they'll probably do it if it's like the last day or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, it depends on your server. The only point of all these bunkers is they're more expensive to raid, since you gotta go through that. All right, but I want to show you something else really cool. You know, the problem with these garage doors, at least from what I've noticed, is people leave them open all the time. They never close them in their base. So when raiders do break in unexpectedly, most of the doors are open. So I want to show you something else really cool. And that is a single button. It could be a switch or something, but I'm going to use a button in this example that closes every door in your base. Yeah, you heard that right. One button, close all doors. Alright, it's actually quite simple. Let me grab a button. And let's grab a door controller. So we're going to place our button. Oh, I guess I got to put it on a wall. Right there. I'm also going to need an electric tool. Or a wiring tool. And I'll get a little more advanced later, but I'm just going to show you the very basic version. The version I'd set up quickly if I didn't have time to get all elaborate. Alright, you set this up. You put a door controller on all the doors you want to control. Also, you're going to need 1 power for each door. Now, the button provides 2 power when pressed. So without any power hooked up, you can control 2 doors. For now, I'm just going to destroy this for ease of button pressing. Or in fact, I'll just move this button down lower. But you can have it anywhere. You're just going to need a wire to it at some point. So keep that in mind. Oh, I'm not meaning to upgrade things. So, button. Door controller. Now, these door controllers are weird. You can hit pair and it doesn't do anything. What you have to do is unlock the door. And then it doesn't matter if the door is opened or closed, it should pair. This one doesn't seem to be. Oh, let's close it and then unlock it. Maybe it has to be closed. I don't exactly remember. Yeah, it has to be closed and unlocked. And then you can pair it. We'll do the same thing with this one. The button providing 2 power can offer a lot of cool tricks without a battery. So this is just showing you kind of the base starter point. So those are paired. Now you can relock the doors. Open them. What's going on with this one? Whatever. This one's like messed up or something. I can't seem to open it. Okay, so you wire your output of your button to these, and then you just daisy chain these. Now when you press this, it should do some controlling. Now, if it's already closed, it's going to open it and then close it. But it's still going to leave it in a closed state, so that's okay. But you want to be aware that that's going to happen, because if you got someone camping on the other side and you press this, it's going to open it briefly and then close it immediately. So this can be a way to deal with door campers too, because you know sometimes you see these incidents where you open your front door and you get killed before you can close it. Well, this will open it so you can run out or do what you want to do for a quick second and then close it right behind you. Okay, now I did say you could do this to your whole base. This door is bugged. I'm going to replace it. I did say you could do this to your whole base, and I do want to show you that. This is not paired. We need to unlock and close. Oh, close first and then unlock. And okay, now it's paired. So those two are paired. But yep, what if you want to do more? Like we'll get this one, for example. I did say the button only outputs 2 power. That's enough for 2 of these. So what happens if you try to do a third? Does nothing. That one's not getting power. This light is representing the pair. So that one's not powered. The other light here, and I guess it's not on these for some reason, but usually there's a top light too. I guess I'm not entirely sure what that represents until I see an example again, but the results remain the same. Okay, so if you want to get this to control more than 2 doors, you need power. We are just going to use a large battery. The large battery, we could control up to, in theory, 100 doors. Alright, so let's go ahead and place that. All you gotta do is just wire the output to the button. And you'll see that this thing is using 4 active power. 1 for the button and 1 for each door. So it does stay active even when not being pressed. But now it'll control the doors. And yeah, it looks a little out of sync there. That's because some were open, some were closed. But like I said earlier, they will, if already closed, just toggle up and down. But they will all end up in this closed state. And why is that? Because logically, the way these door controllers work is when the door receives power, it opens. When the door loses power, it closes. And the button just turns the power on for a second, which would open them all. If they're already open, they'll just remain open. And then cut the power, which will close them all. So it ends up in a closed state. Pretty cool, right? But yeah, that's how you do it. So from here on, you just daisy chain whatever more door controllers, sync and daisy chain all the doors through your base if you want, and put this button way in your core so that when you go into your core to log off, before you log off, you press the button. Then you log off, and you just rest assured that everything's closed. Alright, cool. So that's that. I have something else even cooler or more advanced to show you. I said this was the most basic version, and it is. As you can see, it's very easy to wire up. That you just need to power this thing with equivalent to charging higher than this active usage. With this small case of 4 doors, one solar panel would be plenty. So unless you have actually 100 doors, you're not going to need that much power on the battery. And you can get away with a much smaller battery, of course, too. Such as even a small battery if you've got less than, I want to say 10 doors, but 9 doors, because the button takes 1 power. The small battery, of course, only outputs a max of 10 watts, which is 9 doors, 1 button. So keep that in mind. You know, you just have to look at the batteries if you don't know all of them. Medium battery puts out 50 max, so you can do up to 50 doors. That's so many doors. I can't imagine having 50 doors. But that's pretty much it. Now, all right, more advanced stuff. Okay, what if you want to have multiple buttons that do this? What if you want to have like one in the front of or the exit of your base, so you can hit it before you leave your base, and one in your core? There's 2 different solutions to this. I'll go ahead and show you. The very quick and dirty one is you use an OR switch. So let's grab an OR switch. Now, OR is a logic gate. You can look it up. What does OR do? It's very common in engineering and computer science. OR says, well, it has 2 inputs and an output. And it will output true if one of these, so it's kind of like either or. If either or of these are true, these inputs, I guess represented by the 2 dots on the whatever graphic there, but it's not letting me hover over it because I don't know, it's weird sometimes. There we go. If either of these inputs are true, then it comes out true. So what you do is you just wire each one to the output of the button. Now, you have to cut this, or you wire this output right here. Let's start it this way, to your first door. I'm going to do it like this just so it's very clear which one it's going to, I guess. But I would do my wires better in a real build, naturally. Alright. Or to that. Then your switches go to this. Now, unfortunately, it's a little more complicated than your switches going to this, because this OR switch, the way it works, is the power it outputs over here is equal to the power, the bigger of the powers of the 2. Right? So this one over here is getting up to 100 watts. It could still power 100 doors, but this OR switch uses 1 watt as well. So now it could power a max of 98 doors, but it will work. And this should say active usage a little higher. But what magically happens when you use these OR switches too is everything after it in the chain does not stay in active usage. So you can actually save your passive power by doing this. Just having it to an OR switch with nothing else saves passive power. Because remember, it was saying active usage 4 before we had this 4 switch in. Well, now it's 2. And the drawback is, well, you can control 1 less total door. Because when this toggles, I think it's going to change to 5 there. Yep. Yeah, only for 2 seconds though. So the overall drain on your battery is going to be a lot less. But that's just one benefit here. The other benefit is, of course, multiple switches. So switch somewhere else. Pretend this switch is other side of your base, but I'm just going to put it there for representation. We would once again wire it to this OR switch. Bad wiring, but whatever. And now this one also controls it. However, the way this pass-through works of power, this button's only going to provide 2 power on button press, which is enough for the switch and 1 door. So it'll control 1 door. So what you need to do is get power to this one as well. Now, the problem here is you start needing a bunch of drops, but the benefit here is it uses a lot less power. So you would probably, in this case, well, you have some options. Most people would use a branch here. I kind of like to use splitters on these batteries too, but I think a branch is appropriate enough. So let's place a branch. And this is an electrical branch. It's for your power output. And you put it in here. And you set an amount of power to branch off. So you would set this to the power, you would set this left one to a specific amount. It'd be like your door count plus the button plus this on one side. So, well, we got 5, so we'd set this to 5. Let's branch off 5. Oh, I'm getting some kind of glitchiness there. And I can't seem to find the top. Oh, never mind. I didn't have my wire tool. There we go. So now this goes into this button that we know wants 5. If you add doors, you need to update this. If you add like 2 doors, you need to update it to 7. Make sense? All right, great. I think I've explained it well enough, but if you have questions, let me know. All right, so now this button should still work. In this other one, all the additional further power will come out to this one. That's a bit much for this button. So what you do is just branch off, again, the same amount, because it is configuring the same door setup. It's kind of a replicated setup. Now this is going to up the power, the passive power use pretty dramatically, because these branches each use 1 power. Keep that in mind. You know, people love to use these branches, but there is a point where the number of them is too high. I think for me personally, I usually stop. I won't use them once it gets above 4, because then you start using passively more than 4 power. And you know what else you can do with 4 power? Well, it's a side point. But now that I'm at it, I guess I'll show you real quick before we continue with the buttons. And you can wire this arrangement, which is beautiful. Let me just set it up real quick. I'll delete it in a second. This is not ideal placements. Okay. You can wire this setup that can power 9 turrets. And that's kind of a beautiful thing in a way. Alright, there's other configs too, but branch each one of these to another. And what you'll find is these final 9 outputs each provide exactly 10 power, which is enough for a turret apiece. So you can get 9 turrets from 1 battery this way. And you still have a little additional power left over. And this uses 4 watts, or 4 active usage, rust watts I guess they call it, which is, about as efficient as you're going to get for splitting up power. So once I go, that's just my rule. Once I go, I'm going to go above 4 of these. I just do this instead and get 9 drops with 10 power. And you can once again split these up if you want. Like you could split this to another one, and it would split that 10 power between 3. And you can wire up like electric furnaces. So you could say, okay, I'm going to designate this drop to electric furnaces. I'm getting into another point, so I'm going to delete that, and we'll continue with the button example. But I just want you to know that this isn't the only way of splitting up power. Sometimes doing it the other way, you just have to think about how much you need and if it's going to work that way well. But in this case, we're branching off the 5 each time. We're going to wire the starter one here. These are daisy chains. So yeah, from the first one, the power out went to the next one, then we branch off again. The 5 we want, that branch to the button. And we can continue with our power drain if we want to go to new stuff. And from here, you could go to a splitter if you wanted, or whatever. Either a splitter or another electrical branch or an item. Those are pretty much the options. But this is good now, because now both of these buttons will do the same thing. This is using 10 watts now, so it went up pretty dramatically there. Why is it using 10? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That seems abnormal. I would expect it to use less. It might be glitched. I don't know. Yeah, I would expect it to use like 8, basically. But so now, and that's another thing that's important to realize. Some of this stuff is a bit glitchy. Like some of it works great, but other stuff just like you think would work doesn't. Sorry to get onto another side point. I think I've covered the buttons. You get it? That's how you wire 2 buttons. There's even more though. It does get better, I think. I'd actually have to test a little bit, so maybe I'll leave it at this. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But there is a few more things I have in my head to try that I think would be cool and maybe save more power and allow for more button hookups. But that will have to be for another time, and if there's enough interest, because I don't know, maybe you guys are all like, I don't care, I'm clicking off this downvote. Who knows? You know, I can't control that. That's up to you guys to let me know. What was I going to say now? Oh yeah, just one last thing, I guess. I'll give you one last electrician tip, and that is the bugginess. And oh yeah, I was going to give you, yeah, I will give you one last good tip. The bugginess is the thing to realize. I'll just show you one thing on that, and then I do have one more super cool thing, and that's about automating your lights. You know, you'll find that when you're hooking up ways to power your battery, you'll often combine your root powers, like solar panels, and things that provide power into a root combiner. And this is a nice way to get extensions to your power, and as well, maybe you have a windmill a gazillion miles away and you want to somehow reach this battery. Well, you can put a bunch of these. So this would go to your power source or to another root combiner. All right, don't worry, I'm going somewhere with this. So you can, daisy chain your solar panels this way, or hook up all your solar panels this way. Solar panel 1, and keep just combining these. I know they're not lined up nicely, but basically you keep doing this. Then you got a bunch of empty drops. You got one empty drop on each, so you could hook up 4 solar panels, 5 if you include this last one. I usually leave one empty for later extension, one of these hookups. In case later I say, I need to add another solar panel, you just add another one, hook it up, hook up the panel, and basically you'll end up with 1 per panel. So that's that. So what you might think here is your batteries have an output. I can just output that to charge another battery. That's been buggy for a long time and serves to do nothing except drain all your batteries, in my experience. I don't care what any forum post says or what the rules say or what the item tips say. All that does is drain your battery. Trust me, I've tried a million different ways of doing it. I've never had any result other than all my batteries drained. So basically what you never ever want to do is stuff like this. Even though batteries say in their description, they probably still say it, that they can be chained together. You don't ever chain them together. Where am I at? No. Okay, apparently pressing the enter key resets your login or whatever. So where was I? Oh yeah, I'm messing with these batteries. You never want to go from an out to another in. Because now look at this. Active usage 100. And sure, it's charging this, but it's draining this one faster than it's charging this one. See, this is at 11, but this is already drained nearly 20. So don't ever do that. It's just a total waste of power, unfortunately. So, but yeah, if it was like how I thought it was, they say can be wired in series. Do not wire these in series. They just all drain and end up doing nothing because, well, they're all dead. And see, the charging rate is dependent on power in with a maximum of 80% efficiency. So these don't charge super well. And that's another thing. They cannot be wired in series. All right, don't wire these in series. And additionally, you might think, okay, I can take this final out here and put it into a combiner maybe, and then charge, stuff like that. Well, rather than let you do it on this one, it's effectively the same as wiring batteries together. But Rust have disabled this one because it's just a bad idea, I guess. They should also disable this because that is equally just a bad idea, but I guess they haven't thought of that, or who knows, since they think they can be wired in series. But I just want to get that out there because that's going to trip you up for a few days and you're going to be questioning your sanity because you're going to be like, it literally says they can be wired in series. They cannot be wired in series. So I will save you the trouble of that day for you, hopefully, or answer your question. Never heard anybody else say that, but I haven't found a way around it. If you know a proper way around it, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear it. I don't think there is one, but if there is, I'd like to know. All right, so that's just another point, is you can't take this power out. Now that's going to segue nicely into how to automate lights. Let's go over here. Let's just go to an entire new area. All right, let's talk about automating lights. This is another system I set up in every base. All right, I set up lights, right? I like red lights. You need one solar panel for this. It has to be a solar panel. I usually use a small battery for this. At least this part of it. Now this small battery, this is kind of interesting. There's a little more, you might have seen this before, but this is going to be a little bit more nuanced than the ones you've seen, because I've seen all the YouTube ones too, and they miss all the points of it that, about expanding it and making it a little cooler and doing it real properly. All right, so we need a combiner or a branch. We do need a branch, and you can do this with an OR switch, which I already have in my inventory here, I think. I'll click it just in case. And you could, instead of the OR switch, you can also use a blocker. Most people use a blocker. A blocker costs less metal to make too, so, and they're just easy to find because they're these nice little blue buttons. OR switches are, well, yeah, but it works just as well with an OR switch. Oh, I got someone trying to spam me there. Ban, sland, ignore, whatever. But that's a scammer. Don't ever accept these from people doing this. Where the heck is my mouse? Give me my mouse, game. No? I gotta do that. Controls on this game. They're actually quite good. I'm just a noob. Alright, let's set up some automated power. Sorry for the distractions. You want to just do this. You set these next to each other. I'll show you how to do it with the OR switch in a sec. You take the power out, the right side one, and put it into the blocker. What this will do is, well, it's going to try to branch off as much as it can first. And if there's any leftover, it's going to go to the blocker. So if there's leftover, it's going to block. Alright, so, and this will go to your lights. So I usually set this inner part up first, so I'm doing it in the order I would do it. Let's put some lights. That's good enough. Daisy chain your lights. Maybe you have the hanging ones. These are the industrial ones that are like $4 to buy. Totally worth it in my opinion, but there are other lights and stuff too that you can research. Alright, so you need to branch this off some certain amount. It needs to go to something. I usually do 18 because you want maximum power going out to this if you're charging a battery or something with it. Now, remember what I said before though. Charging a battery is not as simple as it sounds with these. Oddly enough, you can take this branch out and go to a battery. But you cannot take this branch out and go to a root combiner. Same case as kind of before. Left or right side can't go to a root combiner, but they can go to batteries. So, I was kind of complaining about the daisy chaining batteries problem. I'm pretty sure when they fix that you will no longer be able to put this into a battery too, most likely. We'll see, I guess, how they do it. It should be fine, though. But this will charge with at least 18 watts. Now, it's a little less than 20, so you're losing a little power there, but it's no big deal. That power is going into this blocker system, so you can consider it that way. So whenever the solar panel is charging less than 19, because it's going to be one for this blocker, one for this. So you could even set this to 19 to say if it's the solar panel's charging less than full, less than 20, then do it. But I usually do 18. So do what you will there. All right, so what we're going to do here is we need to wire this to power and this to or this to a battery, and this to the solar panel. Let's go ahead and put up the solar panel. My goodness, I hope this is clear enough. I feel like it's long and rambly. You guys will have to let me know what you think, I guess. If you want. That's fine, though. I hope you're learning something. That's all the real point is. Alright. And I hope I'm making it clearer than other YouTube videos have, because for me, a lot of them were too focused on putting music behind the talking rather than the actual info, and that annoyed me. So I'm not going to do that whole music and try to make you get maximum watch time. You watch it if you want to know the good stuff. That's what it is. Alright, so if that solar panel's charging, it's not going to block. Or it's going to block. If it's above 18, basically, if that solar panel is above 18, it's going to block. So what that means is when it's day, it's night, your lights are going to be blocked and off. That's all that really means. So that's the whole system. Now this end, you can wire it to this battery, but this battery, it's going to be hard to keep fully charged if you got a lot of lights, and is only going to support a max of 9 lights, because you see it's got active usage 5, and that's with 4 lights, because one's going into the blocker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to support a maximum of 9 lights, and once you get past that, they won't work. And also, it might fully drain, because it's not getting the best charge in the world. It's getting a diminished charge. And if it's being fully drained by the morning, it might kind of get annoying, because it's going to be still dark and they'll power off. So what you actually want to do is take this and wire it to like a large battery or a big power. Like this would be fine. Now we could power many lights. We can make another branch and set that to our number of lights even. So that might be how you actually do it. Number of lights plus blocker. So this would be 5. Okay, so there we go. Now, you can do whatever you want with this battery. Usually what I do with this particular battery is I power my internal core conveyors or a single electrical furnace or 2 electrical furnaces. This is great for powering 2 electrical furnaces that run all the time, or for powering a small amount of conveyors, say 5 or 6. So that's what that battery can be used for, and you don't have to worry about branching it off of these. It's got its own little internal system, and it also happens to do your light automation too. Let's go ahead and change the time so you can see that this will have an effect. Alright, I'm just going to flip the time to this nice dark 2100 hours. And, something's not working. Oh, yes, of course, I need to hook this up. That would probably help a ton. Okay, and you can see they're on right now. I don't think the solar panel's actually charging properly, or something. It's only putting out 14. Okay, so the lights would kick on now if it's only putting out 14. So you can lower this based on your solar panel, but keep in mind how it's going to charge this battery. To say like 13. Now it will block because 13 is going to this battery, and there's 1 additional going to the blocker, which is enough. You just need at least 1 additional. But usually they get to 20, so that's why I set it high. But you can set it lower. It's fine if you want to play around with that. There was a time where I was playing around with it, and I was just trying to make a thing where I only want the lights to come on when it's super dark. And to do that, you just put this really low. But keep in mind, that's barely going to charge this battery, your auxiliary battery here. You can just have this not do anything, and I think it still works fine. No, let's, actually never tested that. Let's see if the lights kick on. Yeah, you can just have this go to nothing if you don't want to even mess with that battery. But that's just a little thing you'll do when you're optimizing as like a solo or something, you know? Alright, so we've got that to a good number there for us, so I just glitched around. This is going to be a goofy wire. Don't mind that wire. But yeah, that's one way to automate your lights. And that's the battery setup. You wanna do it like that. You don't want this battery to be powering your lights that you're also charging. That's kind of the weird thing that I discovered. You can, but it it often just isn't enough after a while because you'll have more than 9 lights and it's going to fully drain your, or if you do have all 9, it's going to drain the battery too quick and they're going to go off midway through the night. So that's why you want to wire this to a bigger power source on this, but still use it for the blocker, and might as well do something with the power. So you charge another battery for running those internal conveyors. That's the conclusion there. All right, I think I got one last little thing for you guys here for this video. And that's just this OR switch. I said you could use that instead of a blocker, and you can, because it's the same deal. No, I'm sorry, it's not an OR switch. I mistakenly said that earlier. I hope people watch enough to figure that out. It's an exclusive OR switch. Exclusive OR. Now, what does exclusive OR do? You look it up. It's that engineering logic pattern. It is exclusively, it has to be one or the other, but not both. So if both of these inputs are active, this will output false. If only one of them is active, it'll output true. If none of them are active, it'll output false. So it has to be exclusively one. So we take that one of them, just wire it directly to a battery, right? Or to this, rather. Which is basically a battery. And we see we got one side, and that one side is enough to say it's on. However, with this output here, if this is at least one, it'll be both of them and it'll turn them off, effectively like the blocker. It's pretty much the same thing. But I usually use the blocker just because it's costs less metal to make, and they seem to be easier to find. But, you know, if I were starting out and I found a exclusive OR switch, I would hold on to that sucker to do this if I didn't have a blocker. And these do have other uses too. I can maybe show you some cool things later if you subscribe and stuff, and you'll see it probably. But like there's a great way of wiring up a couple different things with these, such as traps like the Tesla coil. You can do an exclusive OR on that, and it's pretty good. But yeah, that's for another time. I never see people use these switches in very simple ways. Usually when someone does, they got a big complicated setup and nobody knows what the heck's going on. So I'm trying to give you some simple examples here of how you can do some real things in your starter base if you want and expand out. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, so yeah, that's how you do it with that. And yeah, let's go ahead and change the time. Boom, to a time where it's no longer charging. It's still charging? No way. I can't see anything. Is this just like... I wonder if the... No, it's getting 20. Okay, hold on. I just want to see what it's doing. Still outputting 20. Okay, this server is just always outputting 20? Is that what's happening? I don't know. I'm not sure. But normally your solar panel would be outputting 0 when it's dark. And when it's outputting 0, it will unblock and light up. That's what I wanted to show you. Don't know why it's not properly working there. I guess it's just how this server is. It's just a build server, so they've got all kinds of whatever their build mods and stuff on it. Who knows? Yeah, I think that's everything for now. Some cool stuff. Some 3 hot tips and a bunch of little minor ones in there. Hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Matt out.